let's get into probably the question everyone's asking, and that's what are the best regions to buy in? And let me just make a few things clear. So what we're looking for is a few considerations. So it's the long-term effect of all buyers. So you don't want to buy in an area that is only wanting to be bought by first home buyers. The price point's also going to be another important thing. Price points of suburbs do matter, especially with these kinds of things, and where you're buying does matter as well. Long-term supply and demand, again, I mentioned the new estates previously, apartments, townhouses. Think about long-term supply and demand. Demographics is another one. If you have poor people buying there, don't buy there. Simple as that, unless it's in an area that is genuinely going to gentrify, can gentrify for good reasons. Lifestyle triangle. The time it takes to go from work to school and lifestyle areas and back home, make that as short as possible. Big one, long-term residents. A lot of your first-home buyer locations are not full of long-term residents. They're mostly new buyers and people that haven't lived there for a long time. So that's another thing to consider. And finally, facilities and transport, particularly in New South Wales, this is going to be a thing. The transport orientated plan will affect this as well. So you've actually got a two-prong approach in some of these areas. So that's the considerations we're making in all these areas to buy. But it's very simple as to why the reasons are in a lot of these locations. And I'm going to get straight into that. I'll start with New South Wales. To be transparent with everyone, I'm only going to do the eastern states because I'm not really targeting the other states. So in New South Wales, first of all, let's just start with Sydney. Pardon me. So it's going to be close to transport lines and price points. So I'll give you a good example. That Canterbury-Bankstown train line, because you're going to have the metro line that's coming in and the transport orientated plan that's coming in as of, should I say, look, the government's always slow, but I think it will be 2026 that will come in by. Well, the transport orientated plan's already there, but the metro line will be there. That's one good example. In some suburbs also between the Sydney CBD and Parramatta. Some of those are still below 1.5 million. So I've seen places, for example, in Belmore, which is about 12K from the CBD, that property still for under 1.5 million there. That is in demand from everyone, such as developers, such as owner-occupiers, upgraders, flippers. Everyone can still want to buy there, and it's still in that price point. So you're going to get the wealthier families that will also give their kids, more money, give them more income in their family businesses that will still buy there. So those are good examples. Transport lines, price points, also near major CBD areas. So especially if it's on land, if you're within a close walk to the major stations of a lot of Sydney that are completely already built, developers will really start to buy that now, because what they'll start to do is they'll put in DAs and sell off the plan to these new first home buyers. They'll raise their prices by 80K because they know they can, and they're going to start to buy these properties for more amounts of money. So that's the Sydney. Newcastle as well. You're in the suburbs, you Ward 1 and Ward 2, these areas are going to be unbelievably in demand. I mean, there's areas that are part of the transport orientated plan. There's wealthy professionals buying in, flippers, developers, everything again. Newcastle with a budget of 1.5 million, you can still buy like Cooks Hill for that, to give you an idea. So, I mean, that's just crazy. All these areas are going to be pushed up, particularly the fundamentally strong demographic areas, even more so. No different to the Central Coast. Areas where the jobs are, areas where the lifestyle is. A lot of these areas you can still purchase for under 1.5 million. There's some that are even, like for example, Canmore, that are like 800 grand, that are near everything you need to anyway as well. These areas are going to be pushed up like crazy. I mean, you can even buy like Terrigal and Wamberal for like under 1.5 million, for example. So, I mean, that's just crazy. It's going to push them up even more. And yeah, it's going to do some crazy stuff here, this program. Wollongong and Shell Harbour, some of the inner northern suburbs, like I'd say your Fairy Meadow, Mount Ousley, right up to probably Woonona, still sub 1.5 million, very good suburbs as well. Wealthier buyers buying there. Other areas that will probably do well will be the South Wollongong suburbs around landlocked coastal areas. So be your surrounding your probably Port Kembla, your surrounding suburbs, cheaper suburbs of Shoal Cove. All of them will do well. They're all built estates. Plenty of people wanting to buy there. Neighbouring, much more expensive suburbs. All of them will do well. Sure, buy the right street and all of that, but really, if you want to ask me where's going to do well, that will definitely help 100%. Let's get into Victoria. Now, Victoria is a bit of a different one because 950K doesn't really help much all of Melbourne, really. It's only certain parts. So those parts, particularly inner west, inner north, some of the Bayside, some of those, when I say Bayside, I'm talking about outer Bayside towards like Kingston sort of way, and right down to kind of towards the Mornington. But inner west and inner north especially, where do you think I've been targeting the most? The inner west is by far my most targeted area for Melbourne. And it's because I know that first home buyers could afford it regardless. I know developers like it. I know flippers like it. I know wealthy investors like it. Everyone likes that area. It's good numbers, cheap price points, still price points sub 950 grand, within 10, 12K from the CBD. I mean, you can buy a small cottage for even cheaper than that as well. It's still going to affect all of them pretty much as well. That's the thing. That's the best area for this policy to buy in Melbourne by far. All of Geelong is affected by this, to give you an idea. The only suburb that you could argue is more expensive than it is probably Newtown. In Geelong, it's probably the most expensive suburb of Geelong, but every single other suburb of Geelong is going to be affected by this. So, I mean, you can almost throw a dartboard at Geelong and expect it to go up in value, but, you know, the areas surrounding the CBD will be best landlocked suburbs, ones that will gentrify, particularly your best suburbs, East Geelong, Geelong West, are going to do very well. I bought for a client recently between Packington Street and the station. We picked it sub 800K. I can't see that doing any less than 10% in the 12 months preceding October to October. I mean, sure, the data might not show it, but I'm telling you right now, on the ground, it will show that. The market's going to go ballistic. The numbers are incredible for there as well, and you're getting it at such a cheap price point. So, I mean, Geelong is probably going to be the most affected city by this, along with probably your Sydney Basin region. Melbourne and Sydney are still affected by this because you've got so many wealthy buyers there anyway. So whether you do this or not, the market's still going to do what it does, but this is just going to put more heat on the bottom of the market and the fire. So I don't know if that's really a good thing, but that's your Victorian sort of regions to buy in. Queensland, it's your northern suburbs that will be mostly affected by this, and it's mainly driven by your demographics. So a good example of a northern suburb that will probably be affected by this is Capera. It's in your north, on a train line as well. Some surrounding suburbs, are you still picking up sub $1 million? Those are good suburbs to consider as well. And some parts of your Redcliffe Peninsula. When I talk about your Redcliffe Peninsula, I don't mean all of Moreton Bay. I mean literally the kind of like, how do I say it, like point of Redcliffe Peninsula, that kind of, so the people who live there will understand what I'm talking about. It's kind of like your Clontarf, Margate up to kind of like your Scarborough. Draw a line and take the eastern part of that kind of area in. That's where I kind of mean in Redcliffe. Now, it's not an area that I really target much, but if you're asking me where's going to be affected by it, that will be, because it's all built. That area is quite a decent livable area. Yes, there is some drug and crime issues as well, and I personally, if it was me and I had all the money in the world for capital growth, I wouldn't avoid it, but people will buy here because it's still quite a good livable area, and it's on a train line too. It will be affected by that. In saying that, I'd probably look at the northern suburbs still, because you're surrounding the old money area of Brisbane. I mean, your old money area is kind of like your Ashgrove, your Clayfield, Ascot, Hamilton, all the suburbs. If you draw a kind of circumference line around the CBD, connecting those together, that's kind of your old money suburbs. Some of your northern suburbs here, really, they neighbour them, and you still pick them up cheap as well, especially if you're willing to do work to one. That's also a good area to buy in. But in saying that, I mean, for people investing, I'd probably still be buying in my old money suburbs, your inner east suburbs. I mean, they just do better long term. So it depends on your budget again, but these are the areas that will be affected by this policy 100%. So that's my summary of where to buy in these areas. Really important you understand this and you understand what's going on in the market.